will just get to it. I will start right with it. As Marvel Rivals has entered its semi-open beta. I was provided a code to get into the beta. Anthony and Kyle, it's real good. I like this.
I have played a little bit of it, but I wasn't going to put it on because I probably haven't played as much as you have.
Copy that. Well, yeah, you can chime in here as you would like, please, my friend. It's still in beta. It was in a closed alpha before, and now it's in a larger beta experience. And for folks who haven't been following, it is Overwatch, but third person with Marvel heroes. There are a lot of hero shooters. Concord just had its beta not too long ago. Valve has theirs. Golly, there's others I can't even remember. But we're in this renaissance of the hero shooter. And they all have some differences. Fragpunk, I really enjoyed that beta. That is more akin, I think, to Valorant, which is now on console. They're flexing their space as well. And Marvel Rivals, and I don't mean this in a negative way. Oh, yeah, Star Wars Hunters. Thank you. I really enjoyed that. It's on mobile and Switch as well. I don't mean this negatively, but Marvel Rivals, at least in this beta, from what I've played, really feels like Overwatch, but Marvel. Much in the same way Fragpunk felt Valorant, but with a modifier card mechanic. And it's third person. And I think that shift to third person is really big for the game in two reasons. One, it shows off these Marvel character skins in such a fantastic way. This is an Unreal 5 game. I'm running it on a beefy GP, and it is jaw-dropping gorgeous. Excuse me. It's not a perfect performance game in the state for me. I've had some stutters. I think the flying characters, you have full free flying as Iron Man or as Storm or some of these characters, or Venom and Spider-Man. Excuse me, can really thwip around the environment quickly. And I've had some hiccups in that, and some instances where I swear I'm hitting somebody and it doesn't register. I don't know if that's netcode or what that is. But I mean, the stylized version of these characters, this game in no way suffers from what the Avengers game suffered from, of like, this is the B tier Captain America. It doesn't try to look like the MCU versions of them at all. It has really carved out its own niche, more akin to a Fortnite, the cartoon Fortnite character. But even there, the proportions are exaggerated in different ways, and they all in Marvel Rivals, they all look like they fit in the same universe, but all of the characters are like a pretty unique spin. And then the game also has voice actors that are incredible, and voice actors who have done these characters in the past. For some of them, for example, Spider-Man is Marvel's Spider-Man voice actor, and so it really brings that authenticity to the characters and to the voice lines. There is a plot that's happening. I don't know what it is. I'll be honest. I have no idea. There's some plot that's happening and why these heroes are fighting against each other in two teams, and there's the same characters battling. Probably a multiverse something or other, but that doesn't matter. The other reason I think third person is an interesting but minor tweak to the Overwatch genre of hero shooter, that niche of a hero shooter, is how it broadens your perspective. The fact that you can see around and behind you just that little bit, I think really changes my situational awareness on the battlefield. And I think this game is faster, Marvel Rivals, in a lot of ways than what Overwatch is. There are some characters that are really fast in Overwatch. Even Reinhardt, can do his dash and cover a lot of distance in a quick amount of time. Winston can bounce all over the place, but it feels like a lot of the characters in Marvel Rivals have an ability that allows them to cover ground very quickly. That said, their normal run state is fairly slow. You don't have a sprint or a dash in terms of just a normal run. You want to enter your fly ability, or you want to swing as that type of character to get you back into the action. And they stealth dropped Jeff the Land Shark and Thor during Comic-Con. They were announced and they were included into the beta. I've been playing mostly as Mantis, as a healer, and it tells you like how hard the character is, like how easy it is to master these characters is kind of how they rank them. Mantis is a relatively easy character to play, but I like her because she is a healer and a support character, and so I get to hang back. I don't need to worry about being super precise with my headshots, and everybody likes a healer because most people don't play them, and teams need healers. So it's always fun to be able to play Mantis and go in and save the day, even if you'll never get MVP, or I'll never get MVP as Mantis. And then I'm playing a lot as Punisher when I want to go in and kill people. I love Punisher. I paid $80 for a Punisher Genesis cart, whatever it was 10 years ago. I really love that character, that Marvel Comics character. I've loved the Marvel Max versions of Punisher. I loved the mainline MCU versions of Punisher. I'm a big fan of that character. And he is if he feels very overpowered currently in Marvel Rivals, his design, his aesthetic is awesome looking. But I love that he feels a little OP, so if I want to go in and get some kills, he's pretty great to play with. And it does all the Overwatchy things. You have your powers on cooldown. The cooldowns don't feel overly long, which I like because, again, this is a superhero game, and you don't want to not be able to thwip your webs as Spider-Man. And so I think Marvel Rivals so far has really balanced things pretty effectively for being able to do your cool thing on screen, but also not just always being your OP supercharged character. My questions about Marvel Rivals going forward are going to be all of the free-to-play things as it progresses. Right now, there's unlocks. You can unlock currency, and you go through a battle pass, and there's skins. I think there's like a blue Venom that's at the end of this one or somewhere in this, and then you can go into the store and buy different costumes. I am not sure how the actual rollout of this game is going to handle its economy, and that is a big question. But for someone who usually bounces off, or my critique for most PvP games is the skill level required to be PvP, to keep up with the meta of what character to play and how to play. I feel like an idiot for saying this, but I do think the Marvel characters gets me over that hump. I feel connected to them in a way where they're already, tattooed into my heart. And I like just spending time with these comfy characters. I really, really like Marvel Rivals so far, and I could see it sucking in a lot of time, here and there in little bursts, because rounds aren't that long, which I also think is nice. Anthony, I'm curious your kind of quick impressions for it from what you've played.
Oh boy, I don't really like it.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah,
Kingdom Hearts 1, huh?
Yeah, I preface it by saying, it's a beta. So obviously there are ways to improve it, but yeah, it just when I first encountered Overwatch, it to me felt satisfying to play as each character that was available. Some of the characters I think in Marvel Rivals are just absolute duds. That I played as and was like, I don't get what you're going for here. Like you play as Star-Lord and you're like, oh, it's Reaper. So, certain characters make sense. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of balancing that needs to be done there, and finding like
you leave Punisher alone.
Yeah, I mean, I think Punisher is probably going to get nerfed pretty hard in what I've seen. But yeah, it's and I also, the third person, while I do enjoy a good like corner peeking type of gameplay experience, something about the first person I think just gels better with me for the different characters. There's a easier way to like kind of get the sense of where things are happening on the battlefield, versus in third person it's a little more chaotic. It just I'm not alone in this. I should say that, like, there have been some pretty harsh criticisms of the game. I don't feel like I'm an outlier. But yeah, I played not a ton of it, a couple hours, and it, when I played as some, a few characters that are just like, this character is eventually going to get nerfed, it felt good. But any other character, some of the characters, I just felt like this, I don't get it. But whereas Overwatch, you could play as, Reaper or one of the kind of more offensive soldier 76 and get it and be like, this is fun. But then also play as Lucio and be like, this is a goofy character, but I also get it, what they're going for. Whereas certain characters in Marvel Rivals, I just felt like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I do think one thing the known IP version of the hero shooter does have to contend with that Overwatch did not is identifying what type of character a character is based on, like, Overwatch was able to create characters. So Reinhardt is a tank and they made him look like a tank. And Marvel Rivals takes a character and it's like, well, Storm should be a tank based on like her comic properties, but she doesn't look like a tank. So what type of character do we make that? I think in terms of silhouetting, if you aren't familiar with the character loadouts, you don't instantly know, Magneto is kind of a defensive player, at least the way I was playing with the characters. A lot of shields, shielding others. And yes, that is a version of Magneto, and I can see why that is that character in this game, but that's also not necessarily the character in the comic books at all times. And so you don't see Magneto on the battlefield and instantly know what type of character it is. Whereas in a game where you're making up all the characters, you can kind of frame their silhouette to represent what type of character they're going to be. I think that's one challenge Marvel Rivals has. The other thing, my biggest nit with it, and I've seen other folks say this online as well, is, and I don't know if it's just because it's the third person perspective and they don't want to hit like make your character stumble, but I don't necessarily always know when I'm taking damage. Like the screen does turn red. I
agree with that, yeah.
But I also feel like I'm still kind of flying through the environment in a way that I don't know quite how they tweak that, but I think there's some impact missing there of like, oh crap, I'm getting beat up. But I like the game, Anthony. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's just
yeah,
not my jam. But yeah, I mean, when it's officially 1.0 and available to play, I'll give it another shot. And I'm sure they'll take the feedback from these beta tests and nerf Punisher for sure.
And take all the money from people that are going to play it because they just like the.
Also true.